Hi, and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a B-movie review, and I'll be having a look at the movie Dragon Crusaders. So this is an Asylum picture, and as you know, Asylum are not the best known for quality outputs. This film really is a sort of medieval sort of fantasy film. It's around the times of the Holy Crusade, and a sort of group of Knight Crusaders sort of attempt to help a village which is being sort of pillaged by a bunch of pirates. And they defeat most of the pirates and end up sort of trying to rescue this woman who's been sort of taken aboard their ship. However, she's unknowingly made a curse to everyone sort of in the vicinity, basically, because she thought she was doomed, that they're going to be ultimately turned into sort of either gargoyles or the undead. I don't really know why she bothered doing that. Obviously, if it only kind of makes them ultimately stronger in the end. But anyway, it ends up sort of cursing all of these knights as well, and they end up having to go on this sort of quest to try and find this sorcerer who can turn into a huge black dragon, who potentially could maybe undo the sort of curse. On the way, they sort of pick up this sort of warrior woman's Xena type sort of princess woman who kind of comes out of nowhere. Don't really know where she is. They're also pursued by this other dude, and we're not told who he is either. He's just one lone guy who is sort of trying to fight them, and I have no idea who he is, and he sort of just disappears ultimately. This film is an absolute mess. It is terrible. There's barely any redeeming features in this film, unfortunately. The acting is uniformly bad. There's not any exceptions. Every single person in this cast is bad. I will say that there's maybe a couple of interesting characters. The female sort of Xena clone, although she's not a great actress, her character is quite interesting, and she has quite a lot of gymnastic moves that she sort of does when she's sort of fighting and stuff. And also one of the Knight Crusaders, one with the bow, although his arrows seemingly are almost infinite. He only has 6 in his quill, and yet he fires up about 50 throughout the film. He's quite a likeable character, but everyone else is pretty dull. You've got the same guy who is in the Merlin War of the Dragons, and he's just as bad as he was in this film. The girl they sort of rescue, this sort of slave girl, has only got one expression on her face that it seems that lasts through the whole film. The acting is just so bad. So it reminds me of if you can imagine those sort of children's TV shows where you have the sort of the kind of people acting like dorks in front of the camera. It's like that basically. It is terrible. The story is pretty nondescript and cliche. There's lots of plot holes in it, lots of illogical moments. The CGI, unfortunately, I mean, they tend to fight these sort of like gargoyle things. When people ultimately get cursed, they ultimately turn into these sort of gargoyles, and they sort of float around unconvincingly. I suppose the designs aren't too bad, I will say that, but they kind of just float around and have boring fights with, and ultimately they sort of end up fighting this sort of sorcerer who turned into this big main dragon, this big black dragon who seems to change size. And again, the CGI, is fairly poor. Again, the design isn't too bad of it, but it's just the execution of it isn't brilliant. Unfortunately, there's not a lot to recommend this film. That there's far better sort of fantasy films, low budget fantasy films, and Asylum generally don't have the best output, as I said earlier in my review. But this, even for them, is probably one of their lowest. If they had some, the difference, I guess, with this one and the sort of the Merlin War of the Dragons, at least it did have, at least one capable actor in it, but this one sadly doesn't have that, and the story isn't as good either, unfortunately. So this I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10, I'm afraid, just pretty low on this one. So anyway, have you seen it? Let me know what you think, and how do you think it compares to some other low-budget fantasy films. If you do like your low-budget films, check out the 2 Dungeons & Dragons sequels, they're a lot better. Anyway, bye for now.